Is it?
Aye.
Ah, nice one.
Was you alright then?
Aye. How he's doing to keep you alright? Right, where am I here? Hello everybody. I'll come and see you in a wee minute. So, I'm just having a wee discussion with myself here and a wee look through asking the questions. Now, obviously, we take claims that are being made to us. So, the Earth, gas, the pressured gaseous environment of Earth adjacent to a vacuum, the medium that is the vacuum, we know that to be 100% false. It's demonstrably false. We understand it through, practical application of physics and the understanding of the substances and the behaviour between high pressure and low pressure environments. We know that we have to have a solid barrier between a high pressure and a low pressure environment, or it's going to seek to find the equilibrium 100% of the time, regardless of what you're utilising and using in everyday practical physics. That is the case. So this isn't about, disproving the vacuum of space. This is about clearing up some of the moronic notions that are out there from people who profess to be educators. In particular, I'm going to talk about this guy, Conspiracy Cats, again. My attention was drawn to one of his latest uploads. So I'm going to share that in a wee minute, and then I'm going to, walk through some various aspects of it, just to highlight and show the total absurdity of people like him and the total nonsense that they try and spew to the unwitting onlooker. Right, so and again, you've got to remember that people like that are trying to have influence over your children, and they're giving them a false sense of reality. Trying to portray pseudoscience and pass it off as some sort of physical, definite part of their existence, and it's just bullshit. So, we've established motion requires a pressure. You need something pressing on something else in order to make something move. So, we'll get to that. I'm going to play the wee snippet from his video, and then we'll have a look at some other bits and bobs. So this might not be for everybody, but this is just to clear a few things up and for me to speak it out, So, let me just see here. Because there is some people who are still stuck on, space and fucking rockets and wee men going to the moon and all that rubbish. So, hopefully, some of this will help to show them the total absurdity and the lunacy of it. So they talk a lot about, Newton's law, equal and opposite reaction. But again, we'll get to that and what it's actually talking about. So let me just, where are these? Where am I here? What's going on? I've got that many pages open here. You need to bear with me. I find these. Where are these? For fuck's sake. There we go. Right, rockets in the vacuum here. So, how we all doing, people? How are these? Anton Levy, Tony Tees, Darry Zigdust, Pandemonium. How you doing? Got the email, Pandemonium. I'll give you a wee message. Cheers for that, mate. Steve, I missed your phone call. I know, mate, if you're hearing this. I did intend to get back to you, but just the weather's been good the last 3 days, so I've been making the most of it. Unfortunately, it's back to fucking normal as of tomorrow. I can only live in hope that that's no the summer we're getting. 3 fucking days at the end of June. It's been pissing down up until 3 days ago, and now the rain is set to return as of tomorrow, and I don't know what the future holds. So I'm living in hope. All the kids stopped here for the summer holidays today, and it looks like so far they're going to get bombarded with utter cack. So there'll be more rants coming if we don't see more of that fucking sun. Maybe we should all start ranting. Maybe more people should start displaying their pissed offness. Be vocal and stand up and start shouting a wee bit. more than a wee while, Tracy. I mean, this is only the first month of summer. We've got 2 months of summer still to go, so you know I'm expecting big things. Bit of a fantasist maybe. Well, we'll get to that. In theory, it seems like it could push on its own gas cloud. It's almost viable, but that gas cloud would need to have resistance behind it. Exactly. But we'll get to that. So let me just get right into this. So let me see. This is baldy twats, cats, whatever. Absolute roaster. So let's see what he's got to say here. He's highlighting Harry Growler's video, so we're going to have a wee look at this and then, for fuck's sake,
this.
Let me just hear what he's saying.
All direct. The soda leaves the can, the bigger the momentum it's going to have, or the more soda that leaves the can within a single second, the more momentum it will have, which means the can will have more momentum and it will move faster in the opposite direction. So let's have a look at how our flat earther.
So note, he's talking about when the gas leaves, you're going to have momentum going in the other direction. We'll get to this. Let's just see here.
So what we can do is put a little shield in here, or column, and this will interrupt
This video here that he's showing is Harry Growler, for anybody that's interested.
the surrounding air pressure, which is all angles. It's not there now. So when the air rushes out, let's see what happens when there isn't this air pressure pushing in from all directions simultaneously everywhere. When that doesn't happen, what happens to the thrust? Again, put a lot more in.
Okay, so without the tube, we got this.
In that first case, you know, people could argue there wasn't a high enough pressure in this area here to be rushing out to have enough effect to be pushing it in that direction. People could argue that.
So here, the momentum of the air leaving the bottle is the same as the momentum of the bottle going forwards. So why does putting a tube on cause it to do this? So when I saw this, my gut feeling was, well, maybe adding the tube increased the mass of the rocket so much that the force produced by the rate of change of momentum of the air coming out the rocket wasn't enough to overcome the frictional forces.
So what he's trying to say there is that paper tube that was added to it made it too heavy.
Of the extra mass of the tube on the rocket. But he debunked that pretty quickly with this.
Now we can test this. Same column in with holes. Great suggestion from Pete and Pete.
Did he just say Peter and Pete made a great suggestion?
Absolutely.
Recommend checking their channel out.
That's Conspiracy Cats' whole fucking joke. Thinks he can just make wee faces in disbelief and then play a wee video clip over and over and over again and thinks it's fucking funny. Just a propaganda agent.
Take the nonsense apart one episode at a time. Excellent. Here we go. This one is for use.
So now the bottle rocket works again, and he's come to the conclusion that by putting holes in the tube, air can get inside the tube, so the air coming out of the bottle can push off that air, making it move forward, which obviously is wrong, but I couldn't quite figure out what was going on.
It's obviously wrong, but he couldn't quite figure out what was going on. Wait till you hear this.
Another thought that passed my mind is it may be working slightly like a suppressor on a pistol, because that reduces recoil.
Get this.
Like this.
Reduces recoil, wait here. The reasons why.
Now a suppressor works because the diameter of the suppressor is much larger than the diameter of the barrel of the gun. And when the hot gases leave the barrel of the gun, they expand and immediately drop in pressure. This lower pressure means they leave the suppressor at much lower velocity, and therefore the change of momentum of the gases leaving the gun is much smaller, which means...
So, the bigger area right? What's the vacuum of space then? Is that not just like a big barrel, a big empty barrel? Conspiracy cats, are you no kind of debunking yourself here, son, by just saying that?
Is the change of momentum of the gun in the opposite direction, or the recoil of the gun, is much smaller. Now this sounded like I was getting close to the answer to me, but not quite 100%. So I
does make the recoil smaller.
Reynolds number.
It makes the recoil smaller because, just as you say, there's a bigger area here, so the hot air moves into it and there's less back pressure. Now I'm going to just highlight a wee couple of videos in regards to back pressure for ye conspiracy cats and other deluded, confused, heliocentric globe peoples out there, and how your physical reality is actually working. So just think about what he's just said here. Okay, the high pressure from the gun and the gases coming out of the smaller tube into the wider, where it's a decrease in pressure, so you'll get less pushback, you'll get less recoil.
Reynolds number.
Right, so that's why we look at a few other bits and bobs. Now I'm going to make the statement, I'm going to make the claim. Right, let me just find a couple of wee things here. Come back to the old Julius Sumner Miller there in a wee minute. I'll show him some cases of you know, how you lose compression and power in a car when you have a hole in the exhaust or the back pressure's not quite right. Okay, let me just get through here. I've got these all set up. So let's have a wee look at the Cannon. So, in here, right, this opposite and equal reaction stuffsies. Now, in any chamber, when the ball is in the chamber, okay, the explosive part is in here between the solid wall of the chamber. You've got your combustible part in there between it and the projectile. Okay, now as that expands up, and it's going to find the lowest path of resistance, which is obviously the barrel of the cannon. So it's firing the ball, okay? So as it expands and pushes the ball forward, the ball is being met by air. It's air resistance. It's then causing a back pressure, which causes the recoil, which causes the cannon to shoot in the other direction. Now, without any blockage in there, like the cannon, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get a recoil. You need the expansion to happen to be pushing on something else. Now, if you've got something that can move, then obviously now you've got a back pressure. You're going to feel that same force pushing back on it. But you require something to be pushing off of. Now, in the vacuum of space, there isn't anything. Let me just see here. This wee video clip here. Let me see, hold on a minute till I find the one with recoil. If I've still got it up here. This one here's showing you what happens in a cartridge, you know, like a shotgun cartridge that's not in the barrel. Now, if it's not in the barrel and it's not got a directed trajectory, it's just going to explode anywhere. It'll find the least path of resistance and it'll eject from that point. But if you've got it in a contained barrel, it's going to move along the barrel, okay, and build up pressure coming out even faster. Let me see.
The Hamilton Jet Waterjet is a high...
So when we're looking at jet engines, like an aeroplane, it's the exact same principle. Only when it's coming out the back, it's pushing against the air that's already there. Now, I'm going to show you this wee thing from Julius Sumner Miller just to make this point. Where is he? For fuck's sake. Where the fuck is it? Right.
By events which are dramatic for the soul. Here is a sheet of paper. About 20 inches one way and 30 the other. 600 square inches. On each square inch, 15 pounds of air. 600 times 15, 9,000 pounds of air. And you know, as I did before, I'll do it once again. I cannot move the weight of that air. There it is. And I...
So, he hit that with a bit of force. So the force that he's hitting that way, if you push it slowly, obviously you're going to lift the paper up. But as you hit it with a hard force, the air pressure resists it and it snaps the wood. Because you need something pushing against it. You need something to resist in order to have that recoil or that equal and opposite reaction. Without that, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so let's just get back to this. Where was it? These guys. I don't know what it is with these people. I don't know if they're just genuinely liars or they're just trying to deceive themselves so that they can confirm a bias that they may have because they're too scared to look at themselves and realise that there's lies being told. Now what they've done here is they've got a tube that they say they've vacuumed out, okay? They've now switched the vacuum off so it's just a sealed tube. What they should do is keep the vacuum running. Keep the vacuum running, okay? Because as soon as this comes out, the air and the gas in there is going to expand rapidly and fill this void, hence giving it something to push over. Now watch carefully, there is no real recoil as the cap pops off, right? Because there's nothing to push backwards. There is no recoil. As the cap bursts off, there's nothing to resist it. So you don't get any opposite reaction. Once the gas starts to come out and fill that void, then you'll see it starting to move. But only once the gas has started to leak into it. Okay? So you can see very little, if any, motion, recoil of that going in that direction with that popping off. Now look at the amount of time, look how much of this is filling this here. Now it's built up enough air pressure in there, there's enough material, there's enough stuff in there for it to now have something to push against.
It was a success.
Wasn't a success. Again, it is a success because the guy's just trying to reaffirm a bias that he has. His test is flawed, hugely flawed, because he doesn't have a continuous vac pump running. He switched it off and he sealed the chamber. So now inside there, it's the same with any ignition like gunpowder or, you know, like a bullet. You can see the same thing of firing a bullet. Hang on a now.
It did fire.
What do you see, Andy?
Oh, nice little hole.
Nice little hole there.
It worked. Didn't sound like much though.
And that is because...
Sound doesn't travel in a vacuum.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it was kind of quiet.
It was kind of quiet, kind of muffled. So, Andy, what have you got to say about this now that you've seen it?
Well, I actually knew that gunpowder has its own oxidizer.
Right.
So this makes perfect sense. We took all of the oxygen out of this chamber, but we didn't take all the oxygen out of the gunpowder.
Right.
So it's the same. So the guys that were in that other chamber, it's the exact same thing. Now when the cap pops off, you've now got gas rushing out into there. There's particulates now within that chamber. So as it builds that up, then it starts to move because it now has something to push against. Same as water. Same as a jet. Hold on. I've Get that many fucking open.
highly developed water pump screen and to produce a more uniform and powerful high-velocity jet stream.
So anybody knows, you know, you take that boat out of water, it's not going to move anywhere. It needs the density of the water. The diameter of that jet, the propulsion system on that is the diameter. It's not enough. It's not got enough thrust to push, to have momentum pushing against the air. It needs to be in the liquid, the water, the more dense medium. So these principles are understood. I don't know why guys like Conspiracy Cats are having a real hard time. Right? The reason they're having a hard time is because they know the implications. They're going to desperately try and invoke real practical physics to try and hijack it and plant it onto their nonsensical drivel of vacuums. Now the whole Newton's law, opposite and equal reaction, again, coming back to the cannon, let me see. Just like in any system, like, you know, an internal combustion engine, you know, once the chamber's sealed, okay, you have the explosion that ignites the fuel and the air mixture, okay? Now it's got nowhere to go. That follows the least path of resistance, which is the piston that's connected to the crankshaft, okay? So as it explodes and it expands, it's forcing the piston down within the sealed chamber. Now if you seized that piston and had the explosion, nothing's going to go anywhere, okay? What was I looking for? So, in an example like this, when we have recoil, so anybody that's seen a cannon being fired, it fires the cannon and it pushes backwards, right? But that's only the case because it has this projectile here, and it has a solid wall, a chamber that the combustible is in, okay? Now as that is ignited and it expands, it forces the cannonball outwards, but as the cannonball is being forced, it's meeting air, right? So like just in water, move your hand slowly through water, you can feel how easy it is. Now try and move it quickly through water, you can feel that resistance, that pushback, okay? It's the same with air. It's a fluid, right? Just in a different form, right? Liquid and fluid is just liquid, okay, in a different state, but it's the same principles that apply. So if you've got a something like this and you move it, you can see there's no much recoil or resistance. As soon as I do that, right, you're getting pushed back. So you're getting that opposite and equal reaction to the movement, okay, pushing back on it. So it's the same thing. Now, that only happens because the cannon's meeting air resistance, which forces the cannon in the opposite direction. Without the air resistance, something to push over, you're not going anywhere. It's very simple. So maybe guys like Conspiracy Cats should get back to some practical real world physics, real engineering, how motors work. What does a turbo do? What is back pressure in your exhaust system? How does it work? How can it be utilised? Understand the drivel that you try and attach to total nonsensical, idiotic, no real world physics, off-world, mathematical, abstract fantasy realms. There is no vacuum. There's no such thing as a naturally occurring vacuum. We don't exist in a medium that's a vacuum, without a pressurised environment adjacent to it, without some sort of solid membrane between it. Now, taking all that away and suspending that to get into the idiotic notions of rockets. Propulsion only works when there's something to push over. A water jet generates propulsive thrust from the reaction created when the water is forced in a rearward direction. It works in relation to Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, but they always leave out only when there's something to resist it. That's when you get the opposite reaction. When there's nothing to resist it, you're not going anywhere.
This channel, you or even kill you. I don't have a cup on.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and do it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Bird shot.
Well, it looked pretty scary. There was a pretty good boom and the head went flying. But would it hurt you or even kill you? Let's look at the real slow motion now.
So you can see probably along the top of the seam it found the least path of resistance, which would have been the seam, or the weakest part of that. So as it expands and the pressure builds, it's going to break and tear through it. Okay? So that's why you have a barrel, the same diameter, so that it builds the pressure and the back pressure, and when you fire it and it meets the air resistance, you get recoil from a gun. Okay? Opposite and equal reaction and all that stuff's baldy cats. Only because there's air there to resist it. Take the air away, you have no resistance, you don't have recoil. You don't have an opposite reaction. So please stop waffling shite and try and understand your actual world that you're living in. You can see it in water as well. Obviously the projectile meets a more dense medium that resists it even more, so it can't travel anywhere near as far as it can in air. I'm not going to bother with all that though. Well, this is the shit here. Wait a minute. This is a kind of programming bullshit that people like that buy into. You will notice something else in the nonsensical mathematical abstract theory of a vacuum. According to Newton's third law of motion, this is where they misrepresent and tell barefaced fucking lies. What gives the gun its kickback? Huh? The only way it's getting kickback is when there's something to resist the projectile, which would be the bullet within the chamber of the gun. Now is it, boom, that bullet's got nothing to resist it in the abstract mathematical notion of a vacuum. There's nothing to resist the projectile, nothing to push back to resist it, so you're not going to get recoil. Maybe you could try something. Maybe if, you know, you connected a spring to a piston in a chamber, in a vacuum, and detonated it with a solid wall here and a piston on a spring here, you might get some sort of reaction. I don't fucking know. But you need something to resist it. See, we compared an AK-47 with a Smith & Wesson. Did you? Did you go up to the nonsensical abstract mathematical theory that is the vacuum of outer space with your AK-47 and your Smith & Wesson? Oh, that's right, this is just cartoons as usual, isn't it? So remember, okay, between the solid wall and the gunpowder, what was I going to say there? There has to be something on the opposite side, so that when that expands and thrusts that out that way, there has to be a resistance coming in this direction to give recoil to make the gun go in that direction. But rockets are no firing out projectiles. Okay? It's an open port of just gas rushing at it. There's nothing there to resist it. Let me see, I had another one here somewhere. That. Can't find it. I know about Flat Earth Bear, but that's the difference there, is that's what I was trying to highlight. We're talking about a gun. So when that's expanding, you've got a bullet here. So between the solid wall of the gun and in between the bullet, you've got this expansive powder that you ignite. And as that ignites, it's got this bullet part here to push back on. That's pushing back, resisting it. So you'll get a slight recoil. But when we're talking about rockets, take away the bullet. You don't have the bullet in there. You just have a combustion chamber that's opening up and letting gas come out. So there's no resistance there. So we're saying they'd need some sort of spring mechanism with a piston on it. And even at that, it probably still wouldn't work. Just see, just so I can make it clear. In this scenario, when the cannon is in here, you've got a solid wall here. Now between the solid wall and the cannon ball, you have your gunpowder. Now as that's ignited and it expands, it's pushing against all the surrounding walls and the projectile. The projectile can move, okay? You get pushback because as that expands, it's pushing against the projectile, which is pushing against the air pressure, which gives you recoil, which gives you an opposite reaction. Take away that, what a rocket is no fire in a cannon. It's just an open chamber of expanding gas. Right? So when it's rushing out in the vacuum, empty vacuum of space, there is nothing resisting it. So you're not going to get an opposite reaction. The equal and opposite reaction only happens within a system like that. When you've got a solid wall, or even if you put two, if that was an open end there and an open end there, and you put a cannon at that side and a cannon at that side and a detonator explosive in between them, the two of them are going to shoot out. Block one end off, expands, pushes the cannon, right? So you've got a resistance on the cannonball. The cannonball is being resisted by the air pressure. Now you've got a recoil, you've got a pushback. Rockets are no firing bullets. It's just gas coming out. That's how a rocket here, a firework, or a jet engine on an aeroplane works. It's compressing the air and firing it out. That's pushing against the air here and propelling it forward. Okay? Now you know this. The faster, if you're on a motorbike and you've got an open face visor on, the faster you go, you feel the resistance even more, pushing you back When I'm out on my bike, doing the speed limit, I start to get strains in the back of my neck because I'm being forced back the way the faster I go. So, just make it clear and watch the switcheroo when they talk about these things, because it's two different fucking things altogether. You get a recoil or a pushback, equal and opposite reaction when there's something to push against, which would be the cannonball in this case. Take away the cannonball, take away the air, detonate something in here so that the gas can expand and rush out. It's not going to do anything. There's nothing resisting it, so you're not going to get an opposite reaction. It's fucking simple. But I highly doubt these clowns are going to display any honesty. I'll just show you the recoil here. So you can see what's causing it in the chamber. You've got the projectile. The gunpowder's ignited, and as it expands it pushes the top of the bullet outwards. But that top, the head of that bullet's a resistor. And it's also being resisted by air. As I say, move something slowly through here, you feel little resistance. Move it faster through here, you get more resistance. You get more recoil, pushback. So, again, it doesn't really matter because it's a physical impossibility for the vacuum of outer space bollocks to be existing. We know that. So, anybody get any feedback? Any rebuttals to that? Anything to say on the matter? Any globe proponents here? I see it's refreshing. I see some people have been kicked off. That's because at 13,500 feet there's less pressure because it's less dense. That's why aeroplanes get to what they call suicide corner, which is a certain altitude that the plane will lose momentum. The engines will still be firing because there's still air there. It's just that there's not enough pressure causing the air to be dense enough for it to have the pushback to propel it forward, so it loses momentum. That's what's happening with an aircraft. They can't go beyond a certain point because the density of the air is just not there. Chappie disagreeing with me? Well, I would love to hear from them. Density is important, especially when it comes to aircraft. I'm just going to sit here for a wee while and see if I get any rebuttals or anybody that wants to add anything to this. Let me know. know, you need that recoil, you need something to resist the flow. Sandy 1, 2, 3. There has to be a resistance there in order to propel it in the opposite direction. Maybe there is water up there. The same thing applies if somebody's going to insist we're in a medium that's water. We have to be separated from that. There has to be some sort of membrane separating us. Well, that's it. They keep invoking Newton's third law and all this stuff, but they deliberately leave out what causes the recoil, what causes the pushback. They leave that bit out totally. They just want to assert that you can have an open-ended chamber, cause an explosion in there, and just by the gas rushing out, it's going to propel it in the opposite direction, which would be the case in here, because you've got air resistance. You take the air away, you take the matter, the particulates of the air away, there's nothing to resist it. So I don't know why people at Baldycats continue to try and deceive people and to believe in absurd nonsense. And then guys making wee idiotic videos with wee fucking tubes or wee tiny vacuum chambers with cans of juice inside it. So that as soon as the gas starts to come out, you've got walls, close walls, and you've got expanding gas within the chamber. Keep the vac pump on. Make the chamber bigger. Keep the vac pump on and make sure it's a continuous, as close as you can get to a vacuum. And let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure me and Marty are going to set something up and see how it goes, because we're no intellectually dishonest and looking for a wee bias. Got these clowns. What if you played Dragon Passion? What if you placed the cannon inside a giant tube? Is the tube vacuumed? Are you putting some sort of matter there that can cause a resistance? Remember, the vacuum of space isn't a chamber. There's no walls to it, apparently. It's a void. An area of nothingness. You're 8 minutes behind live, but about the resistance in the gun barrel, the kickback is from the explosion and the bullet sending the slug one way while sending the gun the other. Exactly. That's because you've got the slug, the bullet resistance, resisting the expansion of the gas of the gunpowder. So you get kickback. The bullet's also being resisted by air, which causes back pressure as well. Exactly, David Holdsworth. The vacuum of space is a unicorn with a Santa tattoo. Aye, because as the gas expands, if you've not got a cannon inside the cannon, you know, if you've not got a ball inside the cannon, you know, as that expands, that gas expands and rushes forward down the least path of resistance, it's being resisted by air, which causes back pressure, which is going to cause the cannon to go in the opposite direction. Only because there's air in it. there's anybody that wants to argue their point in favour of rockets and vacuums, please email me and come in and let's hear what you've got to say. I'm opening up. Let's hear it. That's it, Go Vegans Earth. When they're talking about that, they're talking about real world physics. You've got to understand what's causing the recoil. You know, the cannon's resisting the expansion because it's a mass. And it's also, that mass is being resisted by the air pressure. Or the air. So the air's resisting it. That's why, you know, aeroplanes and things are streamlined, so that the air flows over them. Same with cars and anything you want to make go fast. You have to make it aerodynamic. So if you put a big flat face on the front of it, you're going to get a lot of pushback. Oh, I missed. What experiment? KS Beats, let me see. What experiment was he talking about? That's it. I've seen that where he's trying to ignite it in the vacuum. But in their model, if you look at the rockets, they've got, you know, they've got the fuel and they've got the oxygen that they say their tanks are contained within it. So they inject both into a combustion chamber, and that's where they ignite it. And as that gas is expanding, it's coming out the nozzle of the rocket, which gives it thrust. And that works in reality here with air. But take the air away, it's the air that gives them the resistance to propel them forward. If you don't have a medium or some sort of mass to resist it, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's the same when they build bridges over water as well, Go Vegans Earth's a plane. You know, because water's a fluid too, it behaves the same. So that's why they make them cylindrical. So that there's the least amount of resistance so that it can flow by it. You know, if you made them square, then you've got a flat solid wall, which is going to compromise the structure. So you can take all the stuff, the rocket's got its own oxygen chamber and its own fuel chamber. Both are injected into the combustion chamber. But the bit where they say that it's expanding once it's ignited and coming out, the thruster, the end piece, the only way you're getting recoil is if you've got something resisting it. DQ, what are you going on about the sun for? You don't know what it is. The sun could be doing anything. The sun could be going up and down for all we know. You know? The sun could be going in like a loop. So when it's our summer here, it's in a higher loop and it goes slower. Then it comes down. Then it comes along here and it's got a smaller loop, which it goes faster at. And then it comes to the bigger loop and it goes slower. And then it reverses. So when it's our winter, it's lower and can buy us faster, and then it comes up, then it's somebody else's summer. You just don't know what it is. There could be many of them. You don't know what the sun is. Stop rattling on about intangible, visible phenomena that you know nothing about. Again, highlighting this problem. People are trying to resolve the issues of the luminaries and they're still stuck with solid-bodied objects, singular-bodied objects from the heliocentric cult teachings. There could be anything going on here. People need to eradicate everything they've ever been taught and told about these things and start again, start from scratch. Stop making assumptions based on previous lingering notions of what you think these things are, you're never going to get progress. It's no a gas ball in a vacuum. Stop being a retard. It's a gas ball in a vacuum. How did all the gas come together? Magic stuff's made it. Why is it getting colder when we go towards the sun? Don't know. There's less particles in the air. Why is there snow on the top of mountains? They're still within the 20 band mile of the densest portion of the air. There's plenty of particles. Why is the snow not melting on the top of the mountains if they're closer to the fireball that's radiating heat? Turn the gas cooker on in your kitchen. And away you go up and stick your finger in it. Note, it gets hotter the closer you get to it. That's not what happens here. It gets colder. So all the wee fanciful stories about Icarus. Oh, Icarus tried to fly, made wings and flew towards the sun and his wings burnt. Bullshit. That's just to implant wee fantasy stories in your mind that there's a big burning ball of fire up there. It's not a fucking burning ball of fire. That's utter retarded, childish nonsense. I would say it's more like something coming through a lens, like a magnifying glass. Same principles. You can recreate that. Get a magnifying glass, get it to the right range, and you'll burn something at a set range. You can burn something, you can set something on fire. Keep it there while you're setting something on fire and stick your finger there. Note, you don't get burnt. Why? It's a gas ball in its own gravity. You get a fucking void, an infinite density expanded and kicked out gas. No, all that gas started to form into wee balls. Fucking absolute lunacy. So, let's see if I get any requests from any globe proponents. Oh no, none. None whatsoever. There's no globe proponents rushing in here to tell us we've got it all wrong and this is how rockets work in vacuums. Because they know if there's nothing to resist the expanding gas rushing out it, it's not going to propel anywhere. So all that Star Trek pish about wee wee bursts can take you in directions, it's fucking fantasy. That'll work in air or in water. You get jet systems for water, where you've got a wee cap that will come down and redirect the thrust so that you can turn it in any direction, or you can just move the thruster to propel yourself whatever direction you want to go. They've taken all that and tried to superimpose it into fantasy world where there's no resistance. Conspiracy Cats is notably absent. Wonder if I say his name 3 times he'll appeal at Beetlejuice. Conspiracy Cats, Conspiracy Cats, Conspiracy Cats. You wee ball bag. Aye, I'd love to see him jumping into a vacuum chamber, Magumba. As the gas expands in him, we know it's going to take the least path of resistance. Can anybody guess where Conspiracy Cats' least path of resistance would be? It's two possibilities. I'll let you guess. Come on. See if you can guess right first. Where would the least path of resistance be of an expanding gas within Conspiracy Cats? Hey, Flat Earth Life, you won a gold star. Ha! Alright. Jack Standard, you get second prize. Celtic back up 67. I'll give you a booby prize for that one. Party Pack, third place. West Coast Wisdom, forehead, don't know about that. Cheers, She Get Helicopters. It's got to be repetitive. You know, this is their game. They're repetitive with their bullshit. So you've got to meet that continually by repetition. The facts are not going to change. The facts are not under any obligation to change and be fanciful and entertaining for anybody. You know? And people say, oh, talk about something else. You need to talk about something. Well, it's not over yet. We can talk about all things once this is over. The resistance is still on. The propaganda is still in full swing. Oh, interesting. My mate sent me this. Hang on a wee minute. I was asked to leave the Science Centre once before, but I think I'm going to go back and see what they've got to say. Let me see this. My mate sent me this wee advert. Summer in Space. The Glasgow Science Centre. Free summer in space entertainment. Friday the 5th of July, Friday the 19th of July, Friday the 2nd of August, 12 noon to 4 p.m. Powering the future exhibits and space activities. I'm up for a bit of that. I'm sure I'm not going to get fucking mass cloud cover in space. I'm quite up for that. Well, I got a good suntan. Surely there must be a Globe Tardia proponent here with something to say about the nonsensical rockets and vacuum stuffsies. Are you willing to engage in the discussion? Or are you going to wait and descend on the comment section waffling jobby? Hey. Purple Happy Band. Still no Globe proponents rushing in here, no emails. Exactly, Magumba. This is it. The last time I was outside the Science Museum and I was interviewing people and I had a bunch of goons surrounding me. I think they thought they were going to intimidate me or something. And then asked me to leave the area for asking questions. Bizarre. I think I'll go there and ask them some questions about how rockets work in vacuums, since I'm not getting any Tinterweb Globe gurus coming to save the day. That's it, Big Red. Chief Rocka, you probably are CC, you clown. I'm not obsessed with him. His fucking idiotic videos keep being suggested to me. Now, if you want to see obsession, go and watch all his videos, because he's got me in every single fucking one of them just about. That's obsession. Now, I'm just highlighting his barefaced lying yet again. So go and get him. Go run away and get your lying guru to come and answer to the facts. Yeah, that's for my papers now. That's it, V. Thomas. They have got too much invested in it. There's too many of them feed off of this bullshit. There's so much industry. No, Pragmatic. Of course, they've no approved space as a vacuum, you know. But you know, I'm just suspending that whole. We know that it's bullshit, but we're talking about their idiocy about, you know, propulsion in a vacuum and what's required, and they keep invoking Newton's third law, equal and opposite reaction, and all that kind of stuff. But a rocket's got nothing to resist. It's no fire in a cannon. It's no fire in a projectile. It's just expanding air, gas. That's got nothing to resist it. So there's no recoil. And that was the point I was making here. Of course he knows they can't work in a vacuum, Richard Archer. So the only reason I'm doing this is because, as I say, for whatever reason, YouTube feels the necessity to recommend these dipshits to me. So I'd have skipped through it and I seen that he'd used Harry Growler's clip, so I thought I'd have a wee listen to that section and see what the clown was waffling. And this is just a response to that wee section where he talks utter jobby. I know Have No Sphere, he came here a long time ago. His first appearance on Tinterwebs was on my platform. Made an arse of himself, took a spanking, and then came back in, either himself or gave it to somebody else and porn bombed it. Got me banned for 3 months. School teacher. Somebody that teaches children. Aye, spot on level. It's all fantasy. Science fiction writers.
Get your sexy cup.
A sexy cup? You don't even know what that means, silly.
Why
What is that, Xander? Xander?
Why did you film my YouTube video?
I'm on live right now. It's amazing how they just hear words and then use them. They don't even know what it means. I love winding them up. What did you say there? Do you know what that means? No. Are you using it for then? Trying to be a smart ass. Aye mate, happy mushroom. I can see that. Very strange cloud formations. I think we're descending back into fucking normality. Pishenden tomorrow, Pishenden Sunday, probably Pishenden for as far as we can fucking see. Back to the grey blanket. Quite right, Magumba. Character building. If we can take a ribbon off his dad, then nobody else is going to affect his emotions, are they? Still nothing for Globe Tardia. Any other suggestions? You want to discuss anything else? Very good, Magumba. We know. Never seen a cloud in Greece. I want to go and live in Greece. Is there anybody out there that can offer me an avenue out of here to go and live in the sun? I would be very grateful. Please get in touch. I'm very serious. Right, what's happening here? Right, nothing from Globetardia. No resistance, nothing to push back on. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll probably do a live tomorrow evening. Opening up. No, I've never seen it, John James. I am the same, Trackmatic. In fact, I don't know if I should just open up right now and maybe just sack tomorrow evening. Thank you. What time are we on? 9:30.
Nice, okay.
Nah, we'll just save it for tomorrow evening, huh? Thanks very much, Trackmatic. They will be in the comments later. So anybody that watches this have been given ample opportunity. Don't listen to their waffle about Newton's third law and all that stuff. It only applies. The equal and opposite reaction is when you have something resisting, okay, to give you recoil. When you don't have any resistance, you're not getting a recoil. There's no opposite. Just going to stay on to finish my tea. Okay. Thank you very much, Ziggy Stardust. I'm feeling good about myself. Before you know it, I'll be on here with a fucking hairstyle and a fucking trendy beard and all that. Pouting with my fish lips. Keep all that compliments up. How you doing, Helm Degenerates? I'm a Goomba, that's just jealousy. You want my sexy mug. We know Don, porn bombed. Don Trader. So I see other people, Meryl was realising that these clowns in like Discord and stuff are only there and they're pretty nasty people, which is why I refuse to promote them or encouraging people to go and engage with them. So again, people are walking different paths and I've already walked this path. This all traces back, you know, people at Gem Panda and a lot of these people have got connections to inner circles, shall we say. So back in 2015, there was an influx of troll groups who were creating flat earth groups on Facebook and whatever else. now I needled and dug into some of these characters and discovered that what they were a part of, they were calling themselves the Bullingdon Badgers. Now when you look into what that is, Bullingdon, it's like, I think it's Oxford, Cambridge University or something, the fraternities. And the Bullingdon one was like the boisterous rowdy crew. The troublemakers, the vagrants, the sociopaths, the psychopaths. They were initially set up by an account called Gareth Slynn. And they set up supposed flat earth Facebook groups. Their job and their duty was to lull people into a false sense of security, was to make sure they get the numbers off. Then they revealed themselves and they just started attacking with propaganda, you know, blatant ridicule and all sorts of nonsense. You know, as I say, this is going back for me 2015. And it's the very same groups that are all emanating out of these hoity-toity, toffee-nosed, fucking privileged little fucking dick-sniffing groups, right? These wee knob jockeys born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And they all have investments, their families all have investments, they're all working as networks. Their main focus back at that time was vaccines, chemtrailing, and the shape of the earth. And it's pretty much still the same. So they were professing they were the Bullingdon Badger Club. They had factions in America. They were organised groups, right, that go about propagandising, ridiculing and slating anybody that goes against the narratives that their families and the people that they are connected with have investments in. Big investments. So pharmaceutical, the shape of the earth, and all the industries that come about through people's ignorance. So it's nice that people are catching up. It's just a pity that people never had respect in the first place and paid attention to what was actually being stated to them. Instead, we had to go through all dramas and rigmaroles for people to get to the end of that. You know, still no credit being given. There's still no proper apologies being given for any of this type of stuff. So, you know, I've got the whole history of that whole thing saved. Right? I've got all the early accounts, all their faces and the different names that they were using, all the early crew, and it's still the same ones that are at the hub, all these troll groups. Gem Panda and the likes are all connected to the very same. Buller, 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 lads. Exactly, Big Red. They're all from the same neck of the woods. Exactly, Rickus Vaticus. And it's all these wee cockends that created all the troll groups. Right? Gem Panda's just one of them. With his fucking idiotic Discord server. It's the exact same blueprint. The other flat earth debates, Oakley and the crew, they're all part of the same factions. They're all connected. Stay in Glasgow, why can't you see the Southern Cross? Because you've not got telescopic eyes, you muppet. It's no cartoon realm where your eyes extend out infinitely. Are you retarded? Maybe you need to start understanding how your vision actually works instead of asking cartoon questions. Thinking that it somehow scores a point or something. Don't be an imbecile. It will be worse. you know, because they're actually in vocal, you know, conversations there. So they'll play all sorts of games and they team up. Remember, you've got to realise with us that these factions, these groups of people, they're not there to have honest discourse. They're there to contain. They're there to pull people in, to gaslight them, to ridicule them, to lower their self-esteem, make them doubt their own sanity and give up and walk away. This is their mode. This is the same tactics they've been using. They know, I know. One of them actually gained access to my Beyond the Imaginary Curve page on Facebook, which I no longer am a part of and have not been for the last 3 years. I don't even know if it still exists. When I had it, there was around about 1,000 people in it. So they wanted to make sure they had the majority of the groups sewn up on Facebook. Same here on YouTube. There's Gimp Panda here. Yeah, it's Zippy from fucking Rainbow. I'm convinced that's what he done. He was the original Zippy. Are you here, fuckface? Come on in. Yeah. Of course I had a nerve. They fucking know what I know. I might just go back and revisit all that stuff. Show some faces, show some names. How about that? Gimp Panda. Would you like that? No, Gimp Panda, I trolled you once and flashed my nipples at you. Don't make stories up, son. Fantasising. I gave you wanking material for about 2 years with that flash of my nip that lasted 10 seconds. That was your wanking material for 2 years, son. So come on in. Buller, 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 Jeremy. Buller, buller, son. How's the rest of the wee troll crew? How he's getting on? Eh? You don't realise it's not working yet? How's Jay Summers or Dave Smith or whatever his name is these days? How's he getting on? Still in touch with him? Has he got their teeth fixed yet? Huh? Is he still running about scaring the kids? With the extra rows of teeth? See, there's a whole history that people are not aware of. Some people may have forgotten about. I've not forgotten. I will never forget. I know exactly who these cunts are. Let's set a wee hangout up. Let's see what happens here. Come on in, Gimp Panda. I'm going to talk about rockets and vacuums. Come on in and tell everybody how you set up Nathan Oakley. Right, to have the Flat Earth Debate show because you seen what was happening here. You thought it would be appealing. Come on in, we'll talk about all that. Hurry up, son. I'm not going to shout at you. I'm just going to rip the shorts right off you. Pull your pants down and expose your tinky winky to everybody. Come on, you can tell us how rockets work in vacuums. Surely you must be desperate to tell everybody that it's true. That rockets do indeed work in vacuums. Because of Newton's third law. I think they're all scared. I think they're wee scared of weirdies. Come on, Gimp Panda, the family's all panicking. Eh? Is all the investments under threat? Are you all being whipped? I told them way back in the day they wanted to get somebody like me in because they were all fucking useless. All these wee silver-spooned clowns think they're boisterous and all that. They've not got any intellect. They've no real wisdom. They've no real life experience. They're all wee sheltered boys. You're one of them. I'll have a reasoned conversation with you. I'm always open to reasonable conversations. Stop just professing that's the case. Prove it. Prove that I can't have a reasoned conversation with you. Hurry up.
The Tartarian Bible, Jesus came to Tartaria and he proclaimed the earth was flat and motionless. So it's just the evidence keeps piling up.
What's your whole role in this, P-Mars? How did you get roped into all this? You in connection with the wee Eton and Oxford boys, Cambridge choir. I don't think you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, son, were you?
I came with Eric Dubé at the Jesuit school.
Aye.
We came in this together.
I think you might have been born with a silver spoon in your sphincter then.
We gotta, Hitler was a good person.
You can need come back to that, have you, son? Yeah.
Hitler, they're lying about Hitler. The Nazis were trying to save us.
Jim Panda's talking about people that can't have reasonable discussions. There's P. Mars. He's a fucking fine example of that. Just a wandering buffoon. Actually, I do feel sorry for you, P. Mars. He's run away. Run away. Well, Trackmatic, they avoid this. I've pointed at this before. Again, I'm not sure if you heard this, Trackmatic. You take their claims and their assumptions. We're in a void, we're in an empty space. What gives anything direction? Say you put an object in a void. What gives it direction? You need something coming into contact with it and propelling it so that now it has a reference point of down. So say if you're out with that reference frame, there could be a person there being pushed that way. In my reference frame, they're going lateral to me. But to them, they're being propelled from that point, which means that's their down and that's their up. So I'm in total agreement with you, mate. And their claims. Gimpy and Buller, son. Come on. Your elk surely should take the bait. Are you scared? Do you disagree with what I was saying about rockets in a vacuum, Newton's third law? Can you articulate it in the comments if you're too scared to have the discussion? I'd like some feedback. I am open to feedback. I'm actively requesting it. The bait was, you know, Billa Billa Billa. That was the bait. Doesn't mean to say I'm going to shout at you or anything. I just want you to tell me how rockets work in a vacuum. I'm hopelessly wrong. Can you articulate that now, please? Thanks. Tell us how a rocket propels itself in a vacuum without any resistance to propel it. We're all ears. It'd be much easier for you just to pop in and say it. Yeah. You not tanked up enough yet? Yeah. Not got the brave juice in your system yet? He told me I was wrong, but he's not willing to articulate how. Hurry up then, just never mind all this dancing. You don't deserve the quality content I provide. What are you here for then? Why are you here? Mike John's Oddity. See, they talk about intellectual honesty and echo chambers and all that. You know, every time I go live, I invite them. I'll talk about these aspects and then I'll invite them. And they don't show up. So. Still waiting for an articulation of why I'm wrong. Don't keep acting like a diva. Right? Are you a woman? You're just not worthy of my attention. Huh? You pouting when you're typing that? Cheers, Mike. Right, I'm going to have another smoke. I'll have another smoke and I'm going to finish my tea. And we can.
Alright, I've took your bait.
Oi, Jeremy.
Oh, let me turn your page down. Hang on. How you doing, Del? Long time?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. So, how is it?
What's this about Nathan Oakley then?
What about it?
Well, I didn't set him up.
You did. He
professed
it was your idea. He professed it was your idea.
Well, that's true, yeah. I did. I made a comment in a chat that I missed the old debate days, and he saw that and was inspired to start what he laughingly describes as a debate show.
I don't believe that. I think these are all connected. I think these are all wee fucking toffee-nosed boys that are all connected in one way or another.
Well, I have to admit, I mean, if there's going to be a shill in this community, Nathan Oakley has to be the prime candidate.
Yeah, you're one as well. Don't give us shit.
What was it? His uncle was the political editor of the BBC.
That's
for
right.
Years.
That's right. I found all that out, son. Aye. So do you know Gareth Slynn and Jay Summers and all that? Lizzie Russells and all the accounts? No.
No, I don't know them. Who are they?
Heard it. Where is it you live?
I'm sorry?
Where do you live?
I live in Nottingham.
Nottingham. So are you a toffee-nosed silver spoon boy?
Well, not really. Well, I guess
I think, yeah.
not really.
I can hear
kind
it.
of a mixture, really, Dal.
I can hear it in your demeanour.
Well, my dad was a newspaper editor.
Hey.
And I grew up in a big house in the country. Then we emigrated to New Zealand. Then we came back and it all went tits up.
With it?
Yeah.
So,
And I ended up in, various council estates and things like that. So
rubbish.
I've
You never
done a bit
lived
of both.
You never lived in a council estate. Don't
Of course
talk.
I live in.
shite.
You should see where I live now, mate.
I heard it.
This will give you an idea of where I live. There are 2 bookies at the end of my street, one on each corner.
And you probably own them, you cunt.
10 seconds walk from where I am now.
You probably own them.
No, it's a Betfred and a Ladbrokes.
Right.
No, I don't own them.
So what about the role of Zippy? Did you give that up?
The what?
The role of Zippy?
Zippy? No. I could probably do George for you.
No, you're a good Zippy. That's not bad, actually.
That's not a bad George, is it?
You've got missing talents there, sir. You shouldn't be waffling lies and misunderstandings about your objective reality. You should be an entertainer.
Well, yeah. Well, I was for a while, kind of loosely speaking.
Aye. Were you involved with the BBC?
I worked in nightclubs for many years.
Ah, right. So
I operated a 25-screen video wall.
So you were into fantasy, and your father, you say, was into media editorials, was he? So you know how to spin lies and propaganda, then, yeah?
I do.
Aye.
I do.
I know.
I know a lot about the media and how they operate.
I know.
I've seen it from the inside.
Oh, I know. So anyway.
So rockets in a vacuum.
These rockets in vacuums,
you
aye.
can test this principle, Dal, very easily for yourself.
Go for
Right
it.
now.
Go for it.
All you need is something heavy.
Right.
And I'm assuming your chair there has got wheels on it.
I was going to say, I didn't want to zip my fly down. You know, this is...
You take the heavy thing, whatever it may be, sitting in your chair, and you throw that thing away from you, away from your chest. Is probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
And as you do that, your chair will move in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And that is the principle by which a rocket works,
But it's-
even in a vacuum.
but it's
the same thing. You've
there's
got
resistance.
an expanding mass being expelled in one direction, like the object you throw.
But there's a
and
resistance.
the rocket moves in the other
But
direction.
there's a resistance. The chair's surrounded by air pressure, which is resisting it.
Which would prevent it from moving, and yet it still moves.
No, but it's still resistance.
even with the air there.
But there's a resistance.
Well, resistance is stopping it from moving, right? And yet it still moves. You could try it right now, and I guarantee if you throw a big enough weight away from you, you'll move in the opposite direction.
We're talking about gases expanding coming out a pipe, right?
Right, which is
Right.
a big mass which is being ejected very quickly and
Yeah,
expanding
but
at the same time.
Recoil happens when there's a resistance to the expanding mass. So as that ignites and expands and wants to come down the chamber, the air here resists it. So that's where you get the recoil. That's where you get back pressure.
Well, I mean, if you want to believe that, Dal, you can.
No, it's not-
However,
it's
it's
not
not
matter
true.
believing
And
it.
I think
Jim
my
Bandit's a
chair.
fact.
Hang on, nearly there. I think my chair demonstration would show that to you. It demonstrates the principle and shows that what you're saying certainly doesn't affect the way that the chair moves.
It does, because it's under air pressure. There's a resistance here. We're talking about that you can't use a scenario here in this environment to try and represent a scenario in a different medium. You're talking about a vacuum where there is nothing.
Right.
There's nothing there.
Okay, well, a number of people have demonstrated this.
How did they demonstrate
Probably won't like their demonstrations. One was Mythbusters.
Is this? You're talking about chambers, though, Jeremy. You're talking about chambers, and they're not a consistent vacuum. They seal it off, so the gas is immediately expanding into that area.
Right, well, in that case then, I only have one thing left, don't I? Because I can't do it, I can't offer you a demonstration that occurs in the atmosphere, and I can't offer you a demonstration that occurs in a chamber that separates it from the atmosphere.
Well, you need
which
to make...
the only way I can demonstrate to you rockets in a vacuum in space is actually rockets in a vacuum in space.
Well, you could set
So I could show you some pictures of them working, but I don't think you'll accept those.
You could set your chambers up to be much bigger.
You need a bigger chamber.
You could set the chambers up to be much bigger. And you'd need to keep the vac pump running continuously.
I think the problem with that is that big vacuum chambers are, expensive and not readily available.
Well, it's not that much of a far cry to get a big enough vacuum chamber. To say, me and Marty are going to set something up, and in the scenarios that we show, we'll be keeping the vacuum pump running, no switching it off and then sealing the chamber, because that's just no fair. Immediately,
No,
you know how
it's fine.
how gas expands. You know how quickly gas expands. So if you've got a slight, hairline fracture, and just in these scenarios that I showed, you've got an immediate expansion happening right away. So now you've got something that can give resistance. It can give you the recoil. So you need to make the chamber bigger, but it doesn't matter, because the vacuum and pressurized system thing's a lot of crap. What about the opposite? Have you seen the experiments done with that, where you put a ping pong ball at the end of a tube, vac it out, and you've got a rubber membrane, and then you puncture it, and it fires the ping pong ball and smashes the can? Have you seen any of the experiments?
I'd say I haven't seen that.
Well, that demonstrates how high pressure moves rapidly into lower pressure regions. So again, highlighting the total absurdity of claiming that we're in a medium that's a vacuum while we live in a gaseous environment. I mean, that's just nonsensical to believe that.
And yet we know that we live in a pressure gradient. So we know that there's lower pressure where high pressure isn't.
But do you understand what the pressure gradient is, Jeremy?
Well, whatever it is, it means that higher up there's lower pressure and lower down there's higher pressure.
You know why that is?
And you're saying that whenever there's lower pressure, higher pressure moves to it. So here's an example of where we can clearly see it doesn't.
But we're talking about gases in motion and stuff like that. What you're talking about with the barometric pressure, do you understand the principles and what's actually happening there is a question I'm asking you.
Of course.
Why do you get a lower pressure as you move up?
Because the air is thinner.
No. It's less dense. It's less dense.
Well,
but it's a column of weight.
That's another way of saying it's thinner.
But it's a column of weight. So when you move up, there's obviously less weight bearing down upon you. So you're getting a smaller reading because there's not as much mass bearing down upon you. You understand how it works in water, don't you? Water's just another fluid. So you understand the principle in water. If I set the gauge at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, that gauge has to be sensitive enough to go the full range. So we know that we don't have any devices that are that accurate that can read it to that point. So if I set my gauge with a barometric pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and I raise up to just about a metre before I pop through the surface, my gauge is going to tell me it's pretty much nothing. But it doesn't mean there's no water there. It's just that I've moved up the column of mass, that the weight that's bearing down upon it. So that's why you've got a gradient.
So, okay, so I mean, what do you propose is at the top of the gradient then? What?
Well, still here. You know what?
What can there be there?
Do you know what suicide corner is in regards to aircraft and flying?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you know the term suicide corner in regards to aeronautics when aircraft? There's a certain point that they reach that they call suicide corner, where the aircraft will lose momentum because the air's not dense enough to propel it.
Right.
But the engines still run. So they're still there. It's just that the density, the pressure's not enough. Just like if I take a jet boat out of water and I run it, it's not going to propel it. Even if I put wheels on it, it's not going to move, is it? Because the medium's not dense enough.
I mean, I think a jet engine would fail fairly quickly, actually, because
it does, because it's not got enough. It's not
because
a-
it's reliant upon the airflow, not just for the fact that it's propelling the aircraft forward.
It needs the density.
It would be keeping the jet cool and things like that as well.
But it needs the density of the air to propel, to give it the thrust, to push it forward, to give it momentum. But when you go higher up,
I agree, but
it's
a
less
jet
dense.
engine isn't a rocket engine. They work in different ways.
The principles are exactly the same.
They work in somewhat different ways.
Oh, the
and-
principles are the same. You need,
Right.
You need the thrust. You need the opposite and equal reaction. So
But in the case of a rocket engine, it's fueled by not just a fuel like a combustible fuel like a jet engine. It also part of its fueling system is an oxidizer.
I know.
Which is
I know.
A replacement for the missing air. That's how the combustion takes place.
They've got two chambers. They've got the fuel and then they've got the oxidizer, the oxygen chamber. They inject the two of them are injected into the combustion chamber.
So tell me this then: do you think that is all just made up? That people have just invented all that?
What I'm saying to you is that the principles are right. It's the same as any vehicle. You need air. That's how a turbo works in a car. A turbo will inject more air because if you've got more air, then it will combust greater, right? So you need the two of them to have the combustion, but that's not the point. I can grant you that. Your rocket's got the two chambers, it's got the oxygen and it's got the fuel. The two of them are injected into the combustion chamber where they're ignited. Now, the problem is when it comes out of that part, it has to have something to resist it so that it has thrust. It has to have a resistance in order to propel it in the opposite direction. If you've got no resistance...
That's not correct, Al.
If you've got no resistance...
You can say it as often as you like, but it's wrong.
That is correct, Jeremy. You need something to push over.
How have you demonstrated this then?
What do you mean?
Have you been able to demonstrate this in some way?
What thrust?
Because I see, we can see a rocket going pretty high these days. I mean, some of these SpaceX ones where they've done them at night, you can see the sort of latter staging going on. I mean, they're well and truly in space. Something's up there spitting out fuel and traveling somewhere.
But Jeremy, the arc
what is
that. They act like that because they're well aware of Suicide Corner. They know that they're going to lose momentum because the air's not dense enough to continually propel them. That's why they act like that and then go away out of sight and then cut to cartoons.
And yet we can see the thing up in space. We can see it. Have you seen it? Some of these SpaceX ones that are done at night, where you can see the big clouds of gas coming out the back of it.
Mm-hmm. No, just clouds of gas, but then it cuts to cartoons, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, it doesn't actually. With space, no, it doesn't. Usually with SpaceX, you've got an onboard camera these days, and you see it's spitting out satellites or whatever it's doing. But let me ask you again because I think you dodged it. What happens then at the top of the atmosphere? What do you think happens?
I don't know what's up there, Jeremy. I don't make any claims to that. I can only take the claims that are being made to me. The claims that are made to me is that the Earth exists within a medium that's a vacuum, and that there's no solid separation between the vacuum, and the environment that I live in. The physics tells me that that's an absolute impossibility, a total absurdity. That's
you haven't done any physics, Del. Come on.
Jeremy, I work with cars, I work with pressure systems all the time.
Right, but that isn't doing physics.
It's physics, practical applications of an understanding of my physical reality. So
well,
high pressure moves
if that
to
was
low
true, you wouldn't have such a bad misunderstanding of it.
Explain what my misunderstanding is through practicality.
Well, because you keep asserting that a rocket requires something to push off, and that's just very obviously not true because we can actually see them moving around in orbit. From Earth. You can see them not pushing off things and moving about.
Let's strip it back a wee tape then, right, and let's see what your understanding is, right? So, to put an object in motion, Jeremy, what's required?
A force.
And what would that force be?
Well, it depends.
No. The principles of that force, what is it? Simplify it. In order to put anything in motion...
Oh, I can't say anything simpler than force, can I?
Well, what's a force? Define force.
Oh, I'm not sure if I can define force.
Would a pressure be a force?
It could be, yeah, it could be.
Of course it is. Because that's what makes things move, a pressure. You need something pressing on something else to make motion happen, Jeremy.
Well, hold on a minute. Now you've gone from can pressure to be a force, and we've agreed that yes, and you've gone from that to all forces are pressure, which is something different.
No. All motion requires something pushing. You need something pushing on something else to get it in motion. Do you understand that? What's your definition?
Yeah, that's not true.
Of course it is, right. Well, what else makes things move then?
Well, I could pull something, couldn't I?
Describe pull.
Oh, we're going to do this stupid.
Don't ridicule it. I thought you were having an honest conversation here, so let's define terms.
It's silly, Gal.
It's not silly.
We know that we do pull things.
Describe pull. Describe pull, Jeremy. Give me an example.
And saying that a tug of war is two lots of people pushing against each other. It's just silly.
No, they are. They're pushing on the rope.
Clearly, they're not.
Of course they are.
We can do. Test the tensile strength of substances by, pulling them apart. How is that pushing?
But you need.
If I take a piece of steel and stick it in one of those tensile strength machines that stretch stuff apart to see how strong it is, or a piece of fishing line that they do it with,
right.
How is that pushing?
Jeremy, here's a rope, right?
Okay.
Right. So tug of war, right? Here's I'm going to make it dead simple for you, right? You've got a team at this side and you've got a team at this side, right? Now their duty is to get the other one across the line. So this side here, they apply a pressure on the rope, okay? So they have to squeeze it, press on it, right? Now the force, now the direction is here, in this way, on the rope. And if they don't grip it, they slide. Because watch what happens. Right. Watch what happens when I get to this point here, Jeremy. When I've got something there that I can push against. Now I've got something to go.
But that isn't what happens in a tug of war, is it? There isn't a little thing at the end of it that people pull against.
There's no such thing as pull.
They pull the rope.
They don't. The pull just describes bringing something closer to another object.
Okay, but you've seen as I've described, things being tested for their tensile strength.
And they need to be.
I mean, how is that pushing?
Well, Jeremy, listen, it's just the same if I use the car analogy and I've got two cars going in opposite directions and I've got a tow rope, okay? So the tow rope goes round the tow bar of this one, right? That's going in that direction. Now the pressure is here in the inside portion of the rope, right? Pushing it in that direction. The other one here, it's in this side, resisting it, and that's how you can test the tension of things, by pushing it in opposite directions to see the breaking point.
Okay, but you aren't addressing my example, and I think you should.
I'm addressing it, Jeremy. You've got a misunderstanding.
You've moved on to a different example.
No.
I'm talking about a machine which is designed to test the tensile strength of materials.
Right, give me a.
How can tensile strength
get a video up that you're talking about, and let's have a wee look at it.
Okay, I can do that.
Go for it.
It might take me a minute.
Good, you find it, and we'll have a look at it, right? So I can show you it. But what I do is post it in the chat here in this wee hangout, and then I'll share it on my OBS. So obviously I don't trust you for porn bombing and all that stuff.
Well, when have I've never porn bombed out. I don't even have porn on my computer. Well, I think it's degrading to men.
I think you're in the naughty crew, so you'll need to forgive me that I'm going to suspend my trust for you right now, Jeremy, okay? So find me a video of this testing.
Oh, Dal, what, you saying that you trusted me at some point, and I never even knew?
Just hurry up and get the video up so that I can show everybody how...
Right, I've got one here, here's one.
Go, give me it.
I don't think I'll be able to post it, actually.
You can, there's a wee chat box here.
Oh, sorry, in here, yeah, hold on. Where the fuck are we?
The wee blue thing up in the top left. Click
that.
Yeah,
understood.
There you go. Right, let me see this. Right, so let me just get my share on here, hold on.
Conducting tensile test, 500 diameter tensile specimen.
So, is it this thing in the middle here you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
If you go to sort of probably near the end of the video, maybe
but let's,
it's not long.
Let's
A minute and a half in, I think you'll see it.
Let's just
apart.
let's watch the mechanics of what's happening here. Now this guy's winding a vice. This vice is going to clamp and grip onto it. Now on the vice, it'll be serrated with angles that are going down the way, so that when it squeezes in and it comes down the way, it's going to push into the rod and push it down the way. This is what's going to happen.
No, it's not. It's going to pull it up. It's going to pull each side of it away from each other.
Both ends are going to have serrated angles.
Let's see it push it now, shall we? Let's see it build the material.
Engage tensile specimen between crossheads.
Right. So is this just a pipe here, Jeremy, in the middle?
I don't think it's a pipe. I think it's a solid cylinder of metal.
Right. Okay. So it's connected, and
I could be wrong because I've literally just found this while we're here in the hangout.
So in this top thing, where's my wee drill thing? Hold on. No, let's not get the button on it. So the top one and the bottom one, I'll explain it for people. It's like a vice. So like everybody that's used a drill bit, we are, what do you call it? Anyway, never mind. When you turn it, it clamps. It'll move upwards and it'll clamp. Like if you've got a drill bit, it'll move up and it'll clamp it. Now on these heads that are clamping, they're serrated, right? It's like teeth on them, so that it bites into the material, right? And that's what's happening here. It's biting into the material, and the bottom one is angled down the way like that. The top one is angled up the way like that. So as it bites in and goes in like this, it's now going to push at the top portion upwards, and the bottom portion is going to be pushed downwards, and they're going to test the breaking point of the.
Apply extensometer to determine yield strength of material.
Same as tug of war that Jeremy just doesn't understand the physics of. He doesn't want to understand it.
At the end of the day, mate, they're being pulled apart, and
yes,
you can describe it as pushing if you like, but
Jeremy,
no one's ever going to understand what you mean by that.
And pull's the description.
Clearly, that if you want to.
Pull's the description.
What are you doing? You're saying there is no such thing as pulling.
No,
what is pulling?
A description of bringing something closer to something else, right? So, like when you open the door, Jeremy, when you open the door, see if you were in the house and you wanted to say your living room door opened in the way, and you want to get out the living room, what you do is you put your hand over the handle and you push the handle towards you, which you would describe as pulling. But the physics is actually push, Jeremy. It's just a description.
Okay. Well, if you want to call it that, Delbert,
it's a fact.
That's nonsensical.
It's a fact. You just don't want to understand it. You're probably just trolling.
In the English language, there is a word that is pull, and that word has a meaning. And what you're doing is you're just taking everything that word means away from it and calling it push.
No.
And saying, no, that's a push.
No. Listen very
carefully.
Run
around saying,
listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. Pull is a descriptor of an object being brought closer to another object. That's the descriptor. The mechanics of how you make the object come towards the other object is push. That's the mechanics.
Well, it's absolutely not. But
of course it is. Give me an example of pull, Jeremy.
I've given you an example.
No, that's a descriptor.
That's being pulled apart from each other, and you're saying they're being pushed together. Well,
it's been pushed apart.
The thing is clamped into the machine at the top. There are things squeezing in on the thing to keep it in place. But then the whole top section, including those clamp parts, is being pulled away from the bottom section. And the bottom section is being pulled away from the top section.
So you understand?
The bottom, it's got a great big screw on it to pull it down.
Yeah, so Jeremy understands so far. We're getting there, Jeremy. You're nearly there, son. So you understand that the top one is doing that and squeezing in, okay? Now, as the top one is moved up the way, these teeth that are squeezing in, the direction of momentum is now up the way like this. That's where you're getting it. If they weren't angled up like that and they were angled down, it would just keep slipping off, right? So it has to bite in, and then the force is now in an upward direction, pushing the object upwards.
All right, Dale. That's pushing. if you want to say
Of course it is.
it's pushing.
Of course it is.
It's clearly this object is being pulled apart.
No.
Anyone,
It's been pushed
anyone
apart.
who speaks English would describe this as being pulled apart.
The
It's a
descriptor.
test of its tensile strength.
The descriptor.
That is not how we understand things being pushed together.
Jeremy
it's
does-
how we
Jer-
understand things being stretched.
Jeremy doesn't understand the linguistic use of descriptions of what's happening. He doesn't understand how to separate that to the mechanics.
I understand English. You're the one that's
No.
misusing
Listen,
it.
Jeremy,
You're the
let
one
me
that's
finish.
applying the
Let
word
me finish.
push
Let me
every
finish.
time it's.
Let me
when I
finish,
give you
Jeremy.
Examples of things being
Let me
pulled.
finish, son. Right? There's a difference between the descriptor of like the object coming closer to the other object. That's the descriptor of what's actually happening. The mechanics, the physicality of what's actually happening is that it's being pushed apart.
Well, I would agree that you can, those two things are sometimes separate. However, you're wrong. The
Jeremy.
mechanics are not it being pushed together, they're it being pulled apart.
Right, let me
And that's
just-
very obvious for anyone to see by the fact that it gets longer and it breaks in the middle, and when it does, the bottom part drops downwards. You can see that
Jeremy,
happen if you
Jeremy.
actually play the video.
Jeremy,
Excuse
just
me a minute, I've got a phone call.
I'll play it in a minute, right? Jeremy, I'll wait your back. We'll wait till Jeremy comes back. Just get a wee minute. Jeremy gets himself back here. Plain clouds, it's relevant to the whole thing. That's why Jeremy's skirting and avoiding and trying to laugh it off, because he knows the implications. He knows what I'm saying is 100% factual, but he's got to try and ignore it. Because they need imaginary pulley nonsense to make motion happen, like gravity. And they know that it's nonsensical drivel. Why are you slagging my shirt? Are you trying to give me a complex? Are you trying to make me cry? Is that what you're trying
Sorry,
to do?
Dal.
Oh, no worries. Right, so... Are you paying
So should we move this on? Because I don't think we're going to agree on this one, are we?
Just let me just show you this quick, right, Jeremy? Right. So
Alright.
here we're going to test the strength of this material here, right? So what
Alright.
I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to tow a car. Now you're going to say I'm pulling the car, aren't you?
Yes.
Right. So here, this hand here is a car that's going to be towing the other vehicle. Okay. So this is its tow bar this time, and this is the bar on the front of the other car, right? Now, as this
Okay.
car moves using push principles through a push engine, because the mechanics of an engine, that's my trade, I know how it works. Everything has to be pushing against something else. The tyres connect with the road, they push against the road and they propel the car forward. Fact, okay, Jeremy? So, is this rope here? So this is a tow bar. We put the rope around here. Now the car goes in this direction. The force point is now in here, okay? Pushing the rope in that direction. Do you understand so far, Jeremy? You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
The other one is looked through here, right? Now the force is now in this direction. The rope is now pushing against the tow bar of this one and pushing it, right? That's what's happening.
No, it's not.
Of course it is. And if I put the brakes on
What are
this
you on
one,
about,
if
Del?
I weigh this one down that much, then I keep driving this one, eventually this is going to snap, right? Because it's not strong enough to take that sort of pressure. So, it's just your flawed understanding of reality. That's probably why you're a globe-tard.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that might be it, Del.
See, at the end of the day, this is your pomposity. You're either trolling and you're very shite at it, or you really do believe that you've got the answers and you just know, which makes it an embarrassment for you, because practical reality and what I've just demonstrated to you is factual. That's the mechanics of how reality actually works.
Well, I wonder how you as an adult can sit there saying that, Dal, when you know very well that there's almost no one that agrees with you.
Who?
You don't have any background or training in physics. It's not a subject that you've studied, and yet you sit there rewriting it.
So,
I think that's
Jeremy's
really
new wandered into
very
fallacious.
arrogant.
Jeremy's new wandered into fallacious.
And I think there should be a little bit of you that says, hold on a minute, I know fuck all about this. What am I doing? Talking like, rewriting all of known physics when I haven't even studied it.
Are you finished with your pathetic attempts at ridicule, Jeremy?
I don't want to. It's that's
not
how
a
I
rebuttal
see
to the
it.
facts.
I don't want to ridicule.
Jeremy, that's just,
I haven't. No, hold on a minute, Dal.
No, you hold on a minute, son. You've not offered any rebuttal to the facts. You have just new wandered into. You've new wandered into ad hominem.
I gave you an example.
You've new wandered into. You've new wandered into.
Insist it's your doctrine.
You've new wandered into.
That's it. I mean, what else
you've new wandered
can I
into
do?
subtle ad hominem attacks.
You're using
Jeremy.
the word push.
Jeremy.
Where no one else who speaks the English language uses the word
Jeremy.
push.
You've new wandered into.
If you want to pretend that you somehow come up with something, then go ahead. But you are just pretending.
Are you finished? Are you finished?
Well, I mean, do you think it's likely that you have overturned all of known physics by sitting here in this shed making shit up about pushing and pulling? Do you think, does that seem like a likely prospect to you? Because that is what you're proposing, Dale.
Are you finished now? Are you going to
Yes.
get back to the facts?
Yes,
Are you
but
going to get
please,
back to
I'd like an answer to that question.
You're going to get back to the facts of the physical reality that we share. Now, appealing to consensus and authorities and try to ridicule me and say I'm not qualified is just a pathetic attempt, Jeremy, son. Now, I've just offered you mechanical facts of your reality.
You offered me some shit you'd made up. They weren't mechanical facts. You just made
mechanical
some
facts.
shit up.
I've just demonstrated.
Don't tell me that's mechanical facts. It's bollocks that you made up.
You're getting off a trigger there, son.
Yeah, because you sit there, dismissing what I say
because it's
as
rubbish.
Appeals to consensus.
Because you're talking rubbish.
You have done fuck all to establish the stuff that you're saying. You've done absolutely nothing.
Jeremy.
And that should bother you.
Jeremy.
It's not an appeal to consensus. I haven't said everybody else believes something else. Something else
You
said
did.
you should
You
believe.
said I've overturned the whole of physics.
But
and
it
all that
should
rubbish.
make you think, hold on a minute, what if I'm wrong about this? That never enters your head, does it? Because you're a flat earther and, arrogant entitlement.
There's Jeremy's training coming out now. All that waffle there is just all bile and nonsense, right? Trying to get away from the facts. So you done taking your tantrum, son. It's not working. You're not going to get me to shout back at you and all that. So just chill.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
So what we've just witnessed.
You should notice
what
these
we've
things.
just
It
witnessed
should
is an
bother you
avoidance.
that
What we've
you-
just witnessed.
No, fuck off at what you're talking about.
What we just witnessed is an avoidance of the facts. Now, Jeremy subtly slipped into a subtle form of ad
I
hominem.
pointed out that what you
this is
claim
his
to be
manipulative
facts
ways.
are not facts. They're
This-
just
this
more
is- this is his
bullshit that you've made
gaslighting.
up.
This is his gaslighting tactics.
It's not
where he
gaslighting.
Jeremy, it doesn't
How
work.
is this gaslighting?
How,
You don't even know
Jeremy,
what that word
I
means.
thought you were smart enough to realise that stuff
All
was
right,
going
what
to
does
work.
gaslighting mean?
I thought you were smart enough to realise that none of that was going to work on me, Jeremy. You're obviously not that clever.
It should work.
Right.
Well, I do understand that.
Are you
but
going
I
to?
think I should. I
Jeremy,
really need to point it out to you
Jeremy, are
that
you
you're
going?
a man. You're a man making all sorts of claims about subjects that you know absolutely fuck all about.
Oh, I know
and
it
you've
perfectly
made
well.
no attempt to know about them either.
Jeremy, the reason that we all know that I know exactly what I'm talking about is because you're here trying to use propaganda tactics to poo-poo it. So, are we going to get back to the facts?
Propaganda tactics.
Jeremy,
I'm pointing
you keep
out what
avoiding
the
them.
facts are,
Jeremy,
which is you don't know what you're on about.
Jeremy, you keep avoiding the facts. Are you going to demonstrate the mechanics?
Show me some facts, though. You haven't
demonstrate
shown
the
me facts,
mechanics
you
of
just
pull.
insisted that pushing is pulling. Or pulling is pushing.
Demonstrate to us all the mechanics of pulling.
I have. I've given you a good example, and you
That's
just
push.
rejected it and called it pushing.
That is pushing.
And I gave you a couple more examples, and you just rejected those.
You've not given us any practical examples
that's
of pulling.
fine,
It
but,
doesn't exist. You can't. You
can't
don't get
walk around
motion.
in England using the word push in the way that you're using it and be understood. So you're not even wrong on you're not even correct on a linguistic level, let alone on a physics level.
Jeremy, I know exactly what I'm talking about, son.
I can't believe you letting me get away with all this shit now. Why are you doing? What have you had like some sort of beta blocker?
Would you
or
want?
something?
Would you want me
Some
to do?
calming drug?
Would you want me to do shout and ball at you, Jeremy?
Well, you usually do, Dal.
No,
That's
that-
what you've done for the last 4 years.
Jeremy, that was back in the days where it felt like a battle, son, right? No, I
Right,
understand
now
that-
you know you've lost.
No.
Just a religious
No, I
belief.
know that
I don't
you-
know why you guys don't just go for that religious belief, mate. We'd leave you alone there. You just say, look, it's flat earth, it's my religion. That's it.
Jeremy.
I worship Mark Sargent.
Jeremy. the facts of reality win, son. People like me are no going away. Your wee crew, your wee families are all fucked. And
When are you going to come in? When are you come in my Discord, Dal? Come and have a battle with the lads.
Battle with what? Morons? You're too easy, Jeremy.
Yeah, we got loads of morons.
You're too easy,
Flat
son.
earthers keep coming in.
Jeremy, if you had a challenge for me, I would, but you're too easy.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you try my little experiment.
You're a bit of a
At the
simpleton.
start. I noticed you haven't tried it.
You're a
You
bit-
know it'll work.
You're a bit of a simpleton, son. Right?
Would you agree it will work, mate? You know what I said,
Jeremy,
throw something out.
I bet you
Would your
great.
chair move
Let's,
backwards if
let's,
you do that?
let's have a different conversation. I bet you it grates on you cunts that somebody like me is still here. I bet you it gets right up your fucking neb.
It
And I-
astounds me, really, Dal, because I flick onto your show because I'm
Because you
subscribed to
fucking
you.
love me.
I'm
Because you
subscribed to
fancy the
and-
fucking scants off me, you weirdo.
But take, you're one of the only YouTubers where I've actually clicked the bell notification.
Right.
So I always know when when your show
Oh, I know.
starts.
I know.
And what I do now is in my server I say right, I'm going to flick on to Del Show. I'll wait till you're up and running. I say I'm going to flick on to Del Show and let's see how many seconds it takes him to say water.
Water.
And yeah, it's only
Water.
About 90 seconds
Lovely stuff.
now that where you've gone without saying the word water.
Oh, you must be
And that's
intimidated.
why, I mean, you've been saying the same shit for the last 4 years, and 300 people still turn up to watch you at all. What,
Jeremy,
2 or 3 times a week?
do you know, I think it's phenomenal.
Well, I have no idea why.
Do you know, I think it's phenomenal that I wasn't born into any privileged situation and I've got this level of intellect to be able to tear apart your cack and highlight you for the utter
You
fucking
haven't got a
moron
level
that
of
you are.
intellect.
Of course
What
I have.
you've got, Del, is a level of anger.
No,
That's
no,
what
no.
people choose.
I'm not displaying any anger here
because,
right now. I'm
because
ripping
you
the shit
assert
right
things
out of
with
you.
confidence, and they're not sure. Your audience, they're not sure.
Well, now,
But you are.
well,
You
now,
sound
well,
like
now
you're
20
sure.
minutes. Well, now 20
You're-
minutes into
you're
ad
the
hominem rubbish.
preacher, Dal. You're the preacher, and they turn up to hear you preach fire and brimstone every.
Do you get
Saturday
paid by the
night.
word?
That's what they're here for.
Do you get paid by every
That's
letter?
why. That's why when you mentioned my name, when I appeared in your chat, they were all panting for me to come in here so you can tear me off the strip. They're all dying for it. They're going to be absolutely disappointed if you don't get triggered and have a go at me. soon.
Jeremy, the facts rip you apart, son.
What? That you keep calling things that are being pushed.
It is the mechanics. The
That's
mechanics.
not a fact. That's just you making shit up. Come on, Dal.
What you've displayed here so far is your inability to have a rational discussion with anybody, Jeremy. You're a jester.
I've had a rational. You're not having a rational. It's become circular, isn't it? You're just
Jeremy.
saying that that's pushing, and I'm saying, well, no, it's not. It's pulling, and you say, well, that's pushing. I
Get
say, no,
this.
it's not pulling.
We hear this,
I don't
Jeremy.
see where else we can take that.
Jeremy,
Right.
we hear this,
I
Jeremy.
did want to seize this opportunity.
Jeremy.
I expected you to have banned me by now, but I did want to seize this opportunity.
we
to
hear
just
this,
point
Jeremy.
out the hopelessness of your situation, of making proclamations about subjects you don't know about. Where can that ever lead you?
We hear this, Jeremy. This is a belter, right?
Can you hear me?
Hold on,
Hi, Brian.
Hold on a minute, because this is a belter. For all the inside knowledge and the privileged life that Jeremy's had, and all his waffle and all his propaganda, a guy in the shed that was born into a housing scheme that had no privileges, no fuck all, kind of rip the piss right out of him, wipe the flare with them, and make them all dance. Jeremy, you must be gutted, son. You must wish that you were me.
Hey, no one in England wishes they were Scottish, mate. Come on.
Oh, no, he's getting racist.
That's never happened.
No, he's getting
That's
racist.
never happened, has it?
Keep showing us it. Keep showing us it, you racist fucking fud break. Skyfly Bri, demonstrate pool. Hurry up, son.
Church bell ringers, Dal.
Hurry up and demonstrate pool. Can you
I've
achieve
just
it?
said it. Church bell ringers.
A church bell ringer? No, they push the rope downwards.
Come on,
It's a
Dal.
rope, Dal, mate.
What's that?
It's a rope. They have to pull on it.
No, they push it.
They push it downwards.
Yes, they push it downwards.
Can you demonstrate that?
Yes.
Obviously not now, but
Of course I can.
Can you explain it?
I'll demonstrate it for you right now, sir. There's my rope.
Yeah, but that's in your mind. You're
No,
putting on your
no, it's the mechanics.
being towed.
Skyfly, it's the mechanics of reality, son. That's what's happening.
So why is there a word in the dictionary called push?
It's a descriptor of bringing something closer towards something else. It's not the mechanics of how you achieve that, though.
Okay.
Okay.
I won't accept that, but I'll listen to
That's
it.
because you're a fantasist and a reality denier.
All right, let me ask you this, Dal. Let me ask you this. Have you ever pulled a bird?
A few.
There you go. There you go. That's pulling, right?
There's no mechanics in that, though. That's linguistic stuff. That's not something that's a mechanics of motion. We're talking about the mechanics of motion, and you're trying to use something else. Again, fantasy nonsense. The mechanics of reality and how we actually achieve motions done by pressure.
I'm at least trying to establish one use of the word pull in the English language for you.
Oh.
So we've got one use.
What you need to do is give me an example of mechanics, motion being created.
I did. I
No,
gave
you
you a
didn't.
very good example.
You
and
just misunderstand it. You don't have a clue what you're talking about then, if that's the best you've got.
Well, okay.
Yeah, the word tug also means pull, doesn't it?
What?
Because a tugboat pulls another boat.
Ah, that's right. It's a descriptor of what you. It's a descriptor of an object coming.
If you
closer
test
to
the
another
tensile
object.
strength of something, you're testing how it resists to being pulled. That's what
Anyway,
it
you
is.
can't push on a rope.
You
because
can't say that that's pushing.
You did push on a rope. You did push on a rope and tug of war. Both parties are pushing.
What I want to know, Dal, because I can't remember now. But why is this important? Because I've forgotten.
Because you morons try and invoke motion being created by pulling forces, and there's no such fucking thing.
Pulling forces?
There's no such thing as a pulling. What's gravity? Does gravity pull make a pulling motion?
Well, not really. Well, ultimately, our understanding of it currently is that it's a bending of space time.
Oh, for fuck's! What's that? What's space time and how do you bend
so
it?
it's ultimately it's a
mathematical concept.
It's a falling, isn't it? It's something falling through the curvature of space time.
What is that? A fabric? Is it a substance?
I think gravity is a pushing thing because if you get one of those big long springs.
Skyfly, stop
It's
deflecting.
not a substance,
Stop
no.
deflecting for Jeremy,
Well,
Skyfly.
I don't know, is it a substance? I
Get
don't
back
know.
to it.
No, it's not a
What's
substance.
space time, Jeremy? Is it a fabric? Is it a something? Can you demonstrate? Have you got any space time handy there?
But it's more really a sort of a descriptor, really.
So it's a mathematical concept. It's not a real thing, so.
Well, that's the nature of our existence, Dal, isn't
What?
it?
What concepts? No, it's no. If I want to drown you, Jeremy, I'm going to push you under the water, son.
Well, I think in your existence there is time. I mean, what would you say time is? What is it to you?
A man-made construct.
So you don't think there is such a thing as time?
Well, it's not a thing, is it? Has it got dimensions to it? Has it got a substance to it? I mean, is it? What is it?
Well, again, it's
a concept.
It is a concept.
Of course
I
it
think it is a concept, but it
it
is.
So how do you bend a concept?
It is also something that we experience, right? We do experience a passage of time. I feel like I am.
Day and night.
Sorry?
Day and night.
Well,
So-
that and
So getting back to it,
getting older,
does-
trees growing.
Is gravity a cause of motion?
There's
Is
things
gra-
that
is gravity-
appear to occur chronologically.
Is
right?
gravity a cause of motion, Jeremy?
I'm sorry?
Does gravity cause motion?
Yeah, it can do.
Does it? How does it do that?
Well, I mean, if you drop something from a height, then its motion would be caused by gravity.
And what's it doing? You saying it's pulling it?
Yeah, you could say it's pulling it. Yeah.
Where did you get pull? There's no such thing, Jeremy.
Well, in your
No, in
shed,
reality.
there's no such thing.
No, in
But
reality.
I live in I don't live in your shed, and in not your shed, there is pulling.
You'd love to live in my shed.
Actually, it's not bad, really. It's, you know.
So
you've got a nicer garden than I have.
So does gravity cause motion in objects?
Yeah, I've answered that, haven't I? I've
said yes. And how is it achieving it?
I've answered that as well.
You've just told me mathematical concepts.
You sound like a cop now, asking the same question.
Are you going to give me a practical example of something being pulled?
I think you're an undercover cop.
Shut up, you clown.
So that you can call it being pulled. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just a word, isn't it? Really. I mean,
it's a word to do.
Something is making it get closer to the earth when you drop something, right? Mm-hmm. Something is causing that to happen.
But it's no pull because there's no such a force as that.
So you would say it's a pushing then, would you?
Well, anything that's the mechanics of my reality. To put.
And what are you saying? It's the air pushing down on the object.
I never said that. Don't put words in my mouth. The mechanics of my reality.
Well, I'm asking you.
Let me finish then. The mechanics.
I'm trying to understand it.
Well, the mechanics of reality. To put anything into motion, you require a pressure, a push on it.
Dal, what about? What I ask, Dal?
Where's that going? Why have you dropped the word pressure in there? Where's that leading?
Well, that's what happens, Jeremy. It's like when you press on something, you're creating a pressure on it. And that's what moves it. If you can apply enough pressure to it, you will move it. That's the laws of motion. Dictates that you need something pushing on something else.
I've got another example of pull, Dal.
Go for it.
A BT engineer has a blue rope running through a pipe underground.
Mm-hmm.
He attaches it to the telephone wire, which he pulls through the pipe.
I know, but when he grips it, he squeezes it, and then he's squeezing it, and it's new going in that direction.
Something is not the same as something being gripped and then pulled.
Yeah, but
you can't pretend that that's the same.
It is. Think about the angles. Think
appliance of pressure.
Think about the angles of the force. We'll call it a force for the minute, right? Think about the angles here. When you grip onto the rope, right, you're squeezing it. The angle of the force is new in that direction. And if you don't apply enough, you slip. Right?
Because okay, of course you do. You have to squeeze the rope, but it doesn't mean you don't pull the rope as well.
Of course you do. Jeremy, do you know what a pike fish is?
Yes.
Right, do you know why its teeth are angled in the way towards the back of its mouth?
Stop the price falling out.
I don't actually, off the top of my head.
It's so that when it grabs onto things and yanks them, it's actually applying pressure so that it can tear the flesh for the fucking bones.
Well, that's lovely, Dal.
Right.
But so what?
That's push.
So tell me, is it your considered opinion then that you have redefined all of known physics?
Do you know what's really astounding here? It's your real problem with this because you know how much of a threat it is.
I know what bollocks it is, Dallin. There's not really a lot more that I can say to you other than that's bollocks.
That's not a rebuttal or a practical demonstration of the mechanics of real reality, though, Jeremy.
You're not practically demonstrating. You're just asserting that pushing stuff, what we normally describe as pulling stuff, is according to you pushing stuff.
Are you up for a challenge?
And I should just assert that is not the case. And I've provided 2 examples.
Jeremy.
And Briar's provided 2 more.
I'll
that isn't the case.
I'll set a challenge to the 2 of you then. Right,
and you're trying to. Most of them you've refuted by saying because something is gripping something, it's being pushed.
Well, of course it is. When you grip something, you're applying,
and then it's being pulled.
When you grip something, you're applying pressure to it. You're fud. So let's have a wee challenge.
No, that's true. Nobody's denying that.
Right,
but you're denying that it once gripped, it is then being pulled. And clearly, that's not the case.
It's not being pulled. The mechanics of it is that it's being pushed, Jeremy. You're deliberately avoiding it. So let's have a wee challenge. He's up for it. Are you going to accept the challenge?
Go on, then.
Right. So the challenge is that we use practical references that we actually do ourselves. And we actually describe and highlight the mechanics. I'll highlight the mechanics that it's all push. You highlight your practical demonstrations and call it pull.
I provided you with 2.
No,
Why are we going to do that again?
Jeremy,
I can't provide you with any more than I provided.
It's really embarrassing for you,
can
Jeremy.
just incorrectly assert that that a thing being stretched apart is being pushed.
Of course it is.
Anyone can see that that's not true.
Of course it
and
is.
anyone who speaks English will tell you that that is not true.
It's just because I've got a misunderstanding of what pull actually denotes.
No, it's not.
Of
It's
course it
because
is.
you have redefined the word
No.
incorrectly to try and new speak your way into
No. It's you that's trying that. It's you that's trying
paradigm
that.
doesn't exist in reality.
It's you that's trying that. I've told you, fine, what pull actually means and what it denotes. Pull's a descriptor of bringing something closer to something else. Right? The mechanics is what we're discussing here.
Now, imagine the old toilet systems. The modern ones, you have a little lever on the system, you push it down, so you're pushing. But imagine the old ones that had the chain with the water up high above the toilet, and you pulled on the chain.
Right, so see in your example there, Skyfly Bride, just to make the point, see if it's not a chain or it's not serrated in any way, and it was just like a smooth column, and I put grease saw in it, right? And you try to make that work. What's going to happen? Because you've because you can't apply enough pressure and you can't get enough grip in the downward direction to push it downwards, so you slip over.
Pull.
No.
You can't push the chain, mate.
You're gripping it, and you need the downward direction. Okay, down the way, Bri. And if you've not got enough grip on that, you're going to slip off it. It's your grip. If you had a serrated instrument in your hand and you gripped onto it and the serrated instrument had angled downward threads on it, then you would be able to push it downwards, because the point of force is gone in a downward direction. So you're pushing it downwards. Stop being retarded.
I don't know how you can see it that way. I see it as pull.
No, you're just describing bringing that part of the chain closer to you. That's pull. The mechanics of how you made that happen is push. I don't know why you're so retarded.
I don't know why you want to.
Why you trying to redefine words?
I'm not redefining words. I'm not redefining them. I'm using them correctly.
You are. Nobody else in England uses push in the way that you're using it there.
That's because the majority of people have a faulty misunderstanding of the mechanics of the reality. Now again, when you say that you're bringing an object closer to you, you'll say you've pulled it towards you, which is correct. That's the right terminology to describe one object coming closer to another object. Okay, so like when you open the door inwards, you'll say I pulled the door towards myself, right? That's fine, that's correct, right? But the mechanics is that you put your hand over the lever and you apply a pressure on the inside of the lever, pushing it in that direction.
If you like now.
What?
However, the example I provided of a machine for testing the tensile strength of something shows you that clearly there's something else going on. Because you could reverse that machine and get the opposite effect. You could crush that steel cylinder.
No, the pressure on it.
And that would be pushing.
Jeremy.
So whatever this is, it's the opposite to pushing.
Jeremy, it's all push. Okay, you're just being a deliberate retard. See if that device.
I'm speaking English. You're the one that's making
See the device, shit. Jeremy. See the device.
Stop making shit up now.
See the device that they're using. See on the inside of that device, it'll have serrated teeth on it. Right, that'll be angled down the way, and the one at the top will be angled up the way, so that when it squeezes in on it and then it starts to take it apart, it's pushing upwards and pushing downwards.
Well, even if that were true, it's still being pulled apart.
That's true.
So what?
That's true. The mechanics to make it come apart is that it's been pushed in both directions.
So what do you call the force that's being applied to the centre of that object that as it is stretched apart and breaks?
Well, that's the shear.
You still refer to that as being pushed.
That's the shear point. That's where it's breaking apart because it can't
so
withstand
at that point, is it being pushed or is it being pulled?
It's being pushed apart.
All right. Whatever you say, Dan.
Dad, what about a car that's towing a caravan? Is it pulling it or pushing it?
It's done cars towing.
Pushing it.
Oh,
the car.
It's so absurd, this is.
Jeremy, let me finish. Skyfly Bri answered the question, Jeremy. Skyfly Bri answered the question. It wasn't directed at you and the shit you're getting.
Sorry.
So, yes, Skyfly Bri, the car, the principles of the internal combustion engine, every aspect of it is a push mechanism. right to the point where the tyres connect with the road and they push against the tarmac to propel the car forward. Now the tow bar at the back, the rope loops around it, the car is going in that direction, the point of pressure is now here on the inside of the rope, pushing it that way. The other side is round the other part of the caravan, which is another tow bar, and that is now pushing it in that direction. So it's push. I don't know why.
I see it the opposite way round. It's the same.
That's because you're a mom.
I see it the way round.
Right, I've had enough of you two gimps now. You've waffled on for long enough and made an absolute cunt of yourselves. I'll be using this to chop it up and make an absolute, rip the absolute piss right out of ease. So thank you very much.
How come you got such a lovely tan?
Thank you.
Scotland
Thank you. Why does it get colder when you go closer to this one?
Because the atmosphere is a lower pressure, and it's not what's the word?
What causes pressure?
Magnified.
What causes pressure?
Gravity.
Fuck off. She's later, you bunch of twats, man. Buller, lads. Buller. Jeremy! Sniff my shots.
Jeremy. It's going to be there.
Jeremy.
And you are not going to get rid of it sitting in your shed.
Jeremy, you will forever be walking in my shadow, you little fucking munchkin. Sniff you. Oh dear. That's the best Friday entertainment I've had in a wee while. So I'll be chopping up all that stuff, and I will be revisiting the mechanics of our reality and what's required to make motion happen, and I'll be doing it extensively, and I'll be utilising Jeremy and Skyfly to show the retarded mentality of being a globe cult disciple and your willful ignorance and avoidance of objective reality and your blatant denial of objective reality and the physics. Okay, so it's all good. Total and utter muppets, right? And I'll smoke, and then I'm off ski pops. So there's a few things to highlight there. The tactics of Jeremy that he thinks still work, but that's the type of tactics that will work on people who don't really understand the methods, right? That's how the propaganda machine works. That's the use of fallacious reasoning, avoidance. He displayed every trait in the book there, and the obvious denial of the objective facts, and he thinks that just laughing, you know, is somehow going to have an effect. But woe to the chaff. You know, the chaff are swayed by morons like Jeremy. That's how they don't up their game and they don't get any better, because they focus on low-hanging fruit. So they're never going to raise their intellect, they're never going to get any sharper. And again, they're not interested in progress or honest discourse. They're only interested in dissuading people. Getting them into these wee echo chambers and trying to gaslight them into doubting their insanity. It's not an admirable trait at all. Very dishonest. Who got on to your fucking idiot Vinnie Rhodes? Shut up. Saying stuff doesn't make it true, just because you're delusional. I'll be back visiting the mechanics of reality and using the snippets of Jeremy. There'll be progress made with Gimp Panda. I'll be continually highlighting the absurdity of the globe nonsense and their invoking of pull creating motion, which is just absolutely absurd. And that's the problem you guys have got. You don't have practical hands-on experience of your actual reality. You don't know how your reality actually works. You just invest yourself in concepts and linguistic stories and all that stuff. You know, it's got nothing to do with reality and how it actually works. Exactly, au natural, Natalie. That's the relevance of that whole thing. They want to invoke pulling forces, like pulling creates motion, like it's a thing. It's not just a descriptor of something coming closer to something else, and he knows it. He just keeps digging a hole for himself. I'll use all the wee comments as well. Absolute clown show. That'll be unbelief. We know other tactics. I'll be highlighted. So, thanks for taking the bait, Jeremy. Exactly, Magumba. He's either just deliberately avoiding the fact, or he's just that fucking stupid. He doesn't understand it. Never mind all that, Jeremy. I'll show you your reality, son. It's their job because it's a threat to the industries that all these families are invested in. The scarcity, the whole shebang, you know. I'm going to mention the psychological state of people, and the difference in the psychological state of you know, understanding where you actually are, as opposed to, you know, believing a fantasy that's bewildering, disempowering, nonsensical. You know, so they know once that mold's broken, their whole game's fucked. Their whole game of scarcity and need to control and restrict is fucking over. And people like Jeremy and all these clowns have all got investments, or their family or whatever. Maybe they're held over a barrel or something because of their deviance or something, I don't know. Right, well, Jeremy, it's not a debate. You can't debate objective facts. You can either accept them or refuse them, and in your case you refuse objective facts, so it seems like an argument, but it's just one party's denial of what's actually true. So it appears like there's a debate or something to be discussed when there's no. It's just that you deny what reality actually is. And that's not going to end well for you. Spanish chicken. If you had a taut rope behind an object and force moved the object, it would be pushed. Wrapping the rope around and moving it does not change the moving force. Well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Exactly, stationary plane. It's just, it's no, Jim Panda, it's, you disagree through your willful ignorance. You know, it's just, as I says to you, you either accept the facts of your reality or you refuse them. And in your case, you refuse them because you know the implications in regards to your religious belief that you have about fucking nonsensical pulling forces and fucking spinny globes and all that in the vacuum. It's just drivel. So you have a denial of the facts, which would appear to the ignorant that there's some sort of debate to be had. But smart people know there's no debate. It's just that you're in denial. Reality denier. Exactly. Little gyros flat earth. I'll make videos. I'm going to make videos because they don't like that. They don't like the facts of reality being highlighted. I'm going to constantly needle them. Push and prod at them. Going to open up a big wound and I'm going to keep fucking poking it. Exactly, Steve HV. But their denial of facts, objective facts, could appear to an onlooker who's not that smart that there's a justification for some sort of debate to be had. We really just need to accept that it's just people like Gem Panda actively denying reality and trying to mindfuck people into believing absurd crap. Don't get suicided, Dale. Well, as I said, you know, they're going to gee up with the ridicule pit soon because they know it's not working. So we all know what the next phase is. No, there's no subjective interpretation of objective reality, Gem Panda. Stop talking shite. If I pushed you under the water and made you breathe, you would die. No debate. No debate whatsoever. Just the mechanics of objective reality. There's no interpretation. You can interpret that you're a dolphin, if you like. Let's try that, Gem Panda. Gem Panda thinks that objective reality is subject to interpretation, right? So, let's just say that you want to interpret that you're a dolphin and that you can breathe underwater. Now let's see. I want to see you jumping into a body of water and taking a big fucking breath and proving to us all that if you interpret that you're a dolphin, you can survive underwater. You utter clown. I'd love to see that experiment, Celtic 67. I hope Gem Panda takes the challenge. If objective facts are subject to interpretation, Jeremy, prove to me that you're a fish. It's not quite white here yet. Go vegan Earth. Exactly, Pat Mustard. That's it, Jeremy. When you do a pull-up, your hands overlap the top of the bar. The force is now in the downward direction, so you're pushing against it. The bar's resisting your push, and if it's got enough strength in it, you can raise yourself up. I suppose that's pulling as well, innit? You fucking retard. I'm actually surprised they never said magnetism. Right, cheers people. I'm off ski pops. Be back on tomorrow. I don't know, I might see if I've got time tomorrow afternoon to highlight the mechanics of reality and edit and snip up Gimp Panda and fucking Skyfly. Make an absolute cunt of them. Well, it's not hard, they made a cunt of themselves. So anyway, you know, Globe Drivel, Global Degook. Gimp Panda's an expert in Global Degook. That's the only credit I'm giving him. Right. Thank you everybody. Mods always appreciated. Ta-ta. See you tomorrow. Bye.